I agree with you.
Yeah.
Look, a lot of times we as human beings do, unfortunately, sometimes without intending to, get afflicted by conditioning.
Sure.
Yeah, and if a wild story runs in the community,
Yes.
it is more than likely that it will be believed rather than the facts, because the
right.
facts come later after having thoroughly investigated them.
Sure.
But by then
It's
it
more
is
complicated to know.
absolutely.
Know how
By then it is catch up,
yeah, right.
and usually it is all the.
Well, I'm sorry to see the anti-vax movement, and it's everywhere.
Hey, it's everywhere.
We were just
Absolutely.
in Washington, D.C., they're big in Providence,
Yeah.
and then here in London, the marches. And
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, it is. You see, like I said, human beings have this tendency to want to run towards mysteries more so
Sure, right.
than something that is factually established.
Right.
Yeah, because it becomes boring. A mystery
Yeah,
is
you're
more
right.
exciting. Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, when it comes to life and death situations,
Yep.
human beings will usually wake up on time. There are still many who don't,
Well,
unfortunately.
in the history of vaccination, it's always been problematic.
Absolutely.
Convincing people.
It is.
Even
It is.
when the evidence is overwhelming.
Yeah, it is a difficult one.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, look, my contention has always been with even the anti-vaxxers, and I had one I was speaking to,
Sure.
and I said to him, have you ever taken any medicine in your life?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
pretty obvious, yes.
Yes.
I said, look, everything that you are talking about in the field of medicine
Yeah.
went
Goes by
through
the same rules. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
I said, so now, if you are going to disagree with something,
Yeah.
then you must have, okay, I use the word incontrovertible evidence. Okay, I'll bypass that and say at least just evidence to hold your position to the
Sure.
extent where it sounds reasonable as opposed to all the overwhelming evidence on this side.
Right.
And 99% of the time there is no evidence. It is
Right.
pure speculation.
Sure.
Yeah, and I usually tell
Did you
them,
convince him?
oh yes, because what had happened, yeah.
He
he had
decided to go get
He
a
had-
vaccine?
No, he's young. Yeah,
okay.
but I told him, I said, look, what you must always do in life is allow the evidence to precede your decision-making process.
Sure.
Yeah, the thinking faculties come first, obviously.
Yeah.
Then let the evidence lead you to the necessary conclusion.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And if you are to do that in your life, trust me, it will be far more beneficial than just hopping onto something
All right.
simply because you found it
Well,
tuned to your ear.
And cell phones and Facebook and all of that has just made the problem far worse.
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of stuff. And you know what? Somebody posted something and forwarded it to me
Yeah.
with a full list of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a quick skim and I thought, problem.
Yeah, right.
So I just sent a simple message to him, source please,
Yeah.
question mark.
Right. Yeah. And of
Thank
course,
you for that. I didn't check it.
He hadn't bothered to check
He had
the-
not
the
bothered to
source,
check
right,
it.
yeah.
So you are right, it has become hugely problematic.
Sure.
But like I said, there always seems to be this, it's an odd reason. There seems to be that what is speculative enters the mind quicker than what is factual.
Right.
So it's just one of those. But as far as vaccinations are concerned, the Islamic position is very clear.
Good. That's good to hear. You all recording this?
Yes, you are going to become
Well,
famous.
I'll
Fame
be.
and fortune is coming your way.
But I have something to speak about that doesn't have anything to do with vaccines.
Doesn't matter. Carry on.
Are you interested?
Yes, we are.
You want to know about
Hey,
this?
absolutely. We can always say we are not interested after you've said what you want.
Right.
So it's not a problem.
I'll trade you the microphone if you'll take the camera and record me while I'm
He
talking.
will do it for us. You don't mind? Thank you so much. There you are. Just show him how. I know he's technologically advanced anyway,
Okay.
but it's
Push
all
this
right.
button here, that brings the video up, and then to record the red button, and you'll see the record there.
Right?
Yeah, you might want to put the strap around your neck so you don't drop
So
the
you don't
camera.
drop the camera. We can always. You must have accidental insurance, surely.
Yeah, but it won't.
It's going to take a long process.
It's a $1,000 deductible, so it's not going to
Oh dear, no, it's not a good
If you
idea.
could stand over here. And
So you
the
can
sig-
get the handsome face in
there,
first,
there
yeah.
we go.
There you are.
If you can face
So-
us, yeah, that's better.
Okay, you all ready?
We're over it.
This is about history and changing history. And I will refer to some things that you may or may not have heard of. But as I said before, I live in Rhode Island, and I discovered that the Massasoit Usamiquan, who met the Pilgrims in 1621,
Right.
okay, he was the first European for the native
Natives,
population to talk to in 1621, and they ended up making an agreement at that point that lasted for 50 years. It was like a treaty that they would defend each other and not harm one another. So that allowed the English people to stay there for half a century without a problem. And of course the numbers grew and grew and grew, and the Europeans began taking over more and more land. Eventually, by little after those 50 years in 1675, Usamiquan had died. His son, King Philip, took over. King Philip was a name assigned by the Plymouth colonists, and a war broke out because the native population was tired of having the English take over their land over and over again. At the end of that war, the native population was defeated and either enslaved or killed outright, pushed out of the area. And the English then took over. And from then on, all you hear about in New England is English occupation. You don't know anything about the native people who had lived there for 6,000 or 10,000 years.
Yeah.
So my job, and if you go to a website called SOWAMS, SOWAMS, heritagearea.org, SOWAMSheritagearea.org,
Okay.
you will find a large website that will explain this whole history and how people in the United States who live right there don't know anything about this.
Really?
But it's what changed history.
Uh-huh.
If that war had been won by the native population, it's very likely that the English would have been driven back here to England, and New England never would have existed, and we would have ended up maybe French, maybe still Indian there, okay?
Yeah.
Hard to say. But that was one of the most important transformations in that period of time, 400 years ago, and we just celebrated the 400th anniversary of that first meeting over there. So there's a lot to learn, and
Absolutely.
hopefully your audience will pay attention to that. And not
Definitely,
only will they learn about vaccinations in the
They will learn
Islamic,
about an aspect of history.
that's right, they'll learn
Yeah.
a little bit about history.
Right.
So that's wonderful.
David, can I just ask, the treaty you are talking about that was first
Yes.
originally signed, the treaty included, as you said, one party will not harm the other
Correct.
and one will protect each other.
That's right.
So how did it lead to a war?
Well, that held for 50 years. The Massasoit, the chief,
Yes?
died in 1661.
Okay.
And the man Edward Winslow from the Pilgrims,
Yes.
who was instrumental in getting that agreement going,
Yeah.
had left and returned to England in 1642,
Okay.
leaving his son Josiah to take
Yeah.
over. So you have the sons of the two.
Yes.
They did
parties.
not get along.
Okay.
Okay.
But was the treaty still in force?
Technically, yes, but there were so many violations.
Both
over
sides.
On both sides.
Right.
Well, primarily on the English side.
Okay.
The English were not very good at keeping their word.
Does that still remain the status quo with the English today?
Well, there are not too many English people there. They're now American. We had a revolution, you remember?
Oh yes, of course you did. Yes,
That's
of course.
right.
Did that change the spots of the leopard?
By then, you had native tribes fighting with the Americans against the English.
Yeah, true.
Okay, during the Revolutionary War.
But you know, David, the point I was making, and you are absolutely correct. I mean, these are aspects of history which people need to learn about.
Sure.
You are absolutely
Yeah.
correct. However, you know, one of the things that we see, the treaties have evolved themselves. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
My view would be that, any treaty should have fundamental clauses which clearly favor both parties.
Sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
sorry.
you can read the treaty on the website. Yeah.
Definitely, I
It's
will
not
have a look at it.
very long.
Yeah. But one of the things I have found is that unfortunately today you read, even if it's, and I'm not only talking about treaties of say for example two parties,
Sure.
and the intention of maybe violating the treaties and going to war, etc. I'm talking about even trade treaties.
Right.
Yeah, you will find that the majority of them seem to weigh heavily on one party rather than the other.
Typically, right. And that's all over the
That's
world.
exactly.
Right.
It's all over the world. So there seems to be this tendency to want to allow that status quo to remain.
Right.
How we break that is vitally important.
Sure.
And one of the aspects that we can consider, as you rightly pointed out, is how history actually happened as opposed to how history had actually been told.
That's right. That's a very good point.
That's the distinction to be
Let's hit the red button there so I don't run out of space there.
made. Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. I mean, we definitely will ask our viewers
you.
also to have a look at the website and
Yes.
perhaps, start engaging in history the way history ought to have been.
Right.
Like I said,
Yeah.
as opposed to how it has been written. In fact, I was just telling our brother here that the system, the education system that the United Kingdom had when colonization took place, the education system went along with it.
Yes.
Yeah, to countries that had never even heard of the
That's
United
right.
Kingdom. To the extent that right now you can ask people about Richard the Lionheart and they will know about him, but their very own history they won't be sure about.
That's right.
But look, it's not a blameworthy
we
element.
often say history is his story.
Exactly, his
it's
story.
not our story.
Yeah, we need her story as well now.
Right, that's
Maybe
right.
we can
Yeah,
see
we
what
need a
happens.
number of stories.
Carried away.
Yeah, but that is the truth of the matter. That
Yes.
once an education system has taken over, it takes years and years and years to try and reverse that. I mean, look, everybody knows that all the cowboys and Indian movies were always made to make the
Cowboys.
cowboys, the heroes, the
Yeah.
natives, the savages.
Right. Yeah.
Far from the truth.
Far from the truth.
Far
Right.
from the truth.
Yeah.
So there is so much that needs to be rewritten. Right, but what I'm not going to do is go to the extent where the whole of history is totally bypassed and a new history is rewritten.
That's right.
And that again is doing exactly what the previous guys did.
That's right.
Which is what you do not want to do. You want to keep it at a balance.
Well, and I think with the internet, it's easier for people to find the alternative version. Right.
Yeah, there is, but the difficulty there is to establish
Which
the
is the right
veracity. Exactly. So there is much. But look, it's a learning process, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, thankfully you have come and you've told us about this. Yeah. It is something that we can learn about,
Good.
and hopefully we can carry on.
Well, he's
We are
speaking louder, so I came here to get a little bit, so I'm going to get a little bit more of them. But
Not a problem at
very,
all. Thank you so
very
much.
happy to speak to your audience. And
Likewise.
How does anyone find what you're putting up?
All truth revealed.
Okay,
One word.
I'll write
on
that
YouTube.
down. Is that on
Yeah.
YouTube?
Yes,
YouTube.
you'll find us there.
I will look
Without
for
the
it.
spaces, yeah?
And yours, brother?
All truth revealed.
What's yours?
All truth
All
revealed.
Truth Reveal, right? Okay, All
Okay.
Truth Reveal, even that one. That's great.
I have a lot of stuff on YouTube, so
Yeah?
yeah.
By all,
This will be on YouTube.
yeah, by all
Okay.
means.
You want me to take one of those?
Yeah, please
Thank you
do.
very much. Okay.
Excellent.
Have a
It
good
was a
day.
pleasure, David. Look after
Nice
yourself.
talking with you.
Likewise. Look after yourself.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
for the film.